Welcome back to our unit on point of view. Today we are going to cover third person point of view. Before we get started, I want to say we did survive last week. My husband was really sick, but he's doing better now. So thank you for being patient with me as we finish this unit up. We will have one or two more after this one. But as I said, today we're going to talk about third person point of view. There are two types, limited and omniscient, and we're going to touch a little bit on both of those today and give some examples. And at the end of this unit, there will be lots of links for you to get lots more information. Okay, third person point of view, limited. The story is about he or she, and this is actually the most common point of view in commercial fiction. The narrator is outside of the story and relating the experiences of a character. With limited, it's usually just one of the characters in the story. Or if the author is switching between multiple character points of view, it is just one character at a time per scene. Remember that unit on head hopping? We don't want to do that just because we're in third person. So the advantage of third person is that the author can write from a broader perspective. You're not stuck inside one person's head looking out through their eyes. You can pull the camera back a little bit and share a little bit more of what may be going on in the story that your character may not know. The disadvantage is that it can be really hard for the author to help the reader connect with that character, especially if you use omniscient. But before we move to omniscient, I want to give you an example of third person limited. And this is from one of my favorites, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. This is the very beginning. A breeze ruffled the neat hedges of Privet Drive, which lay silent and tidy under the inky sky, the very last place you would expect astonishing things to happen. Harry Potter rolled over inside his blankets without waking up. One small hand closed on the letter beside him, and he slept on, not knowing he was special, not knowing he was famous. He couldn't know that at this very moment, people meeting in secret all over the country were holding up their glasses and saying in hushed voices, "To Harry Potter, the boy who lived." Okay, so where is the camera focused? It's focused on little Harry and what is around him. You know, the breeze on Privet Drive, the sky that's above him, it mentions his blankets, and his hand on the letter. So we are focused on Harry. He is where we're limited, even though other people are mentioned. So as you can see, we're not inside Harry's head. He's actually asleep. And he's young. He's not seeing anything, but we're getting everything around him because our camera is focused on him, and we're learning some things that he doesn't know and that he won't know for many, many years. That's where these other people are mentioned, that he is special and he's famous and these people are toasting him. But we're not in their heads. We don't see what that area where they're meeting looks like. We don't feel what they're feeling. We're focused on Harry. Okay, because we stick closely to one character while remaining in third person, we can gain the ability to be inside a character's thoughts, feelings, and sensations as we experience with Harry Potter as he grows. And this gives the reader a deeper experience of that character and scene. It's not as deep as first person because we are pulled back a little bit with the camera, but it does allow us to see some extra things that could enrich the story. And I think this is why we're able to connect with Harry over the course of his story. We feel for him and we join him on the journey, even though we're not inside his head. I know I personally was really anxious and angry during Order of the Phoenix, the whole book, when no one would tell Harry what was going on and they were trying to protect him, but he just needed to know so he could, make informed decisions. And then of course Umbridge and all that stuff, I felt those emotions that I imagined him feeling, even though I wasn't in there. Okay, so let's take a look at third person point of view, omniscient. So first thing you need to know is this is actually really an outdated form, and we're going to see why as we look at the examples. It used to be very popular, it used to be the most popular, but people today, they're used to instant gratification and they want to get in and feel things quickly and deeply and move on. That's because of TV and movies, and we've got so much social media coming at us from every direction that people don't experience literature the way they used to. Okay, so third person omniscient is still about he or she, but the narrator has full access to the thoughts and experiences of all the characters in the story. So that camera, instead of being focused on the one, where we're using he and she, has pulled back even farther, and now we can see everyone in the scene. However, I want you to be careful because I don't believe this gives you the permission to head hop, but a lot of people make this mistake. So let's look at an example where it's done well. And this is from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, near the end of the book. One morning, about a week after Bingley's engagement with Jane had been formed, as he and the females of the family were sitting together in the dining room, their attention was suddenly drawn to the window by the sound of a carriage, and they perceived a chaise and four driving up the lawn. It was too early in the morning for visitors, and besides, the equipage did not answer to that of any of their neighbors. The horses were post, and neither the carriage nor the livery of the servant who preceded it were familiar to them. As it was certain, however, that somebody was coming, Bingley instantly prevailed on Miss Bennet to avoid the confinement of such an intrusion and walk away with him into the shrubbery. They both set off, and the conjectures of the remaining three continued, though with little satisfaction, till the door was thrown open and their visitor entered. It was Lady Catherine de Bourgh. They were, of course, all intending to be surprised, but their astonishment was beyond their expectation, and on the part of Mrs. Bennet and Kitty, though she was perfectly unknown to them, even inferior to what Elizabeth felt. Okay, so did you notice that? Could you feel that the camera was pulled way back, giving us a wider view of the entire group? We don't know, well, let me try to gather my thoughts here. We don't actually move from inside Elizabeth's head to Mrs. Bennet's, to Kitty's, to Bingley or Jane or anyone, okay? It's kind of a surface viewing where we don't experience their individual thoughts and sensations. We just kind of see the group as a whole. And we did kind of move, we mentioned Bingley prevailing on Miss Bennet, but we didn't jump inside of his head. Everything was still on the surface. And I think that's the main reason why it's outdated today, because like I said, people want to get into the heads of their characters. They want to feel everything with them, and they want to experience that deeper connection with the characters. However, I love Pride and Prejudice. Not everybody does, but most people do enjoy this story. But if you think about all the retellings that have become popular, they're closer point of view, so that people can get in their heads and experience things. All right. So I don't really want to talk about second person point of view on one of these videos because, to be honest, it makes my head hurt. The few times I've stumbled on a book written that way, I've quit it within a chapter or two. It doesn't make sense to me, although I have been told that it can be a useful exercise to write a book that way. Most of the links that I'm going to share at the end of this unit will include discussion on second person, so I'll leave that to you to read up and make your decisions about that. In our next segment, we're going to very briefly talk about how to choose which point of view is best for you. So until next time, keep writing or start writing.